Alexander, what would you say? Who is your favorite when you were learning on how to be a philosopher? Who is your favorite philosopher growing up? And with your favorite philosopher, what would you say was your favorite book of his, and why was that your favorite book of his?
So I was absolutely transformed by reading Guénon, René Guénon, his three books. First of all, Reign of the Quantity, the Crisis of the Modern World, and the East and West. That was the essential, the seminal ideas of traditionalism. And after that, I've read in the early years all the other books of Guénon. I was very impressed. I was very impressed by books of Evola. Julius Evola has influenced very much my own ideas, except his paganism, because I'm Christian Orthodox. But as well, I was fascinated by Heidegger. I started to learn Heideggerian philosophical works precisely from the youth, and after that I explored the phenomenological tradition of Husserl, Brentano, and I've tried to combine, to put together traditionalism and phenomenology. I see many common points there with difference of language as well. Much more later, I have discovered full-scale Platonism. So, and I've started to search inside of Platonic tradition, Neo-Platonic tradition, and Aristotelism. Some people think wrongly that Aristotle is a quite full opposition to Plato. That is very superficial opinion and wrong, because they, in the essential points, they are together. They are very, very complementary. But Aristotle emphasizes, I would say, the immanent horizon of the reality, and the Plato transcendental. But to put together, they create all kind of traditional philosophy, and that was another source of inspiration of this Republic of Plato and the treaty on the soul of Aristotle. So together with traditionalists and work of them, and together with phenomenology, as well as with structuralism, sometime I have dedicated to study structuralism of Levi-Strauss, of the Trubetskoy, who was the founder of, by the way, of Eurasian movement in the 20th and 30th of previous century, as well as of Dumézil and many others. So, and the key to understand Islamic mystical tradition and Iranian tradition in general was very dear author Henri Corbin, whose work on the imagination of the Ibn Arabi has produced on me the great effect in the youth as well. So I am always surrounded by the high circle of the genius, and I'm living, speaking with them, discussing with them, trying to understand what one of them said on different occasions. So I am totally engaged in this philosophical symposium with the great mind, because they have left behind them the treasuries of their philosophical inspiration and revelation, and all that obviously based on the Christian tradition, because I see in the most Christian Orthodox authorities, in the Dionysius of Areopagite, in the Maxim, the Confessors, and Simeon, neo-theologian, and Gregory of Palama, and many of them in the Christian Orthodox tradition. I see the parallel line of the development of the very important metaphysical approach, and with the help of Plato, Aristotle, traditionalism, phenomenology, and structuralism, I try to make all this to make all this open to penetrate the hidden sense of all these authors and schools and tendencies that help to enter inside of their inner dimension.
So, Alexander, I also read here that you are able to speak Italian, German, French, English, and Spanish. Wow, that's a lot of language. When you were learning how to speak languages, what would you say is like your favorite language out of all of them, and the one that sounds the most beautiful, and the one that really you'd say speaks to humanity the most?
So indeed, I know more or less, not so well, these languages. I could read and speak and understand them, but I would say that, for example, philosophy, I prefer to read in German, including sometime when maybe I know French better than German, but when it affects the philosophy, from time to time I use German translation of the French thinkers in order to understand better, because the German language doesn't let any ambiguity to exist. So if German translator doesn't understand some passage of French author, it could not go further. So the Germans cannot lie. That is the language that cannot lie. So German language always says truth, or something that Germans say it is. It is not necessary truth, but it is for sure that Germans themselves believe that what they say, that is true. So that is open language, philosophically open. It has no backstage. That is in comparison with French. So French is very elusive. And at the same time, because I started to learn languages with René Guénon, so French language is for myself as well the kind of intellectual language, and I think from time to time in French when I'm dealing with complicated rational issues, because that is this language that is Latin, obviously. The kind of Latin, it is very very useful in order to construct rational buildings with complicated issues, not maybe so clear and direct as the German, but in a different way. So as a sound, as a kind of the beauty of the sounds, I prefer Portuguese. So I'm great fan of Brazilian music. So I think that there's something absolutely charming in Portuguese. And the other Latin language, Italian, I like very much, because it is something between, philosophically, it's something between French and German. So it is much more clear. So in Italy, you could not hide so easily as in French what you want to, what are you going to say. So it is closer to German and English language. So what we use, what we know as English is not English. There's parody, it's simulacrum of English. The real English language, it is almost 2.5 languages. You have almost all Roman roots and Roman expressions after the William the Conqueror. So you have Anglo-Saxon German set of roots, and a bit of Celts infiltrations. So if for example, open English literature, made mostly by Celts, by Irelandmen, for example, Yeats, Wilde, and the others. So that is a really important thing. That Irish people are much more inclined to the beauty of the language, but nevertheless, English language can be beautiful as well, and is useful to speak on the international level to everybody. It is not. It is now is used as a kind of pseudo language of the globalism, but we can easily, I presume, to restore its dignity if we try to read the real romance, the real poetry, to real text on it, including starting from Chaucer or Shakespeare and the other. That is great language. So it is now is victim of the global thresh trying to speak English, but the reality of this language is very beautiful and today almost forgotten.